Hi Capricorn and welcome to your horoscope for 2025. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Please watch my horoscopes in this order: rising sign first, then sun sign, and finally your moon sign. So what I'm going to do in this horoscope is I'm going to have a look at the retrogrades of the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars. I'll look at the 4 eclipses we have coming up in 2025. And I'm also going to have a look at the 4 outer planets that are changing signs in this coming year. That's really significant. The outer planets represent society and humanity, so they impact all of us regardless of sign. But they also move very slowly. So for one outer planet to change sign is really significant. Last year we had Pluto going into Aquarius, and I talked a lot about that. But in 2025 we have Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus changing sign, which is really significant, and also Jupiter, but to a lesser degree, because Jupiter moves quite quickly, but the rest of the outer planets move so slowly that any change of sign means that we're going to experience a different energy and dynamic for years, right? So this is going to give a glimpse into 2025, but it's also going to give a glimpse into the years after that. So just as an example, Pluto in 2024, it moved into Capricorn. No, it moved out of Capricorn. It had been in Capricorn since 2008, and it moved into Aquarius in January 2024, stayed there until September, where it retrograded back into Capricorn, and then it moved out of Capricorn and into Aquarius again on the 19th of November. And now it's going to stay there until 2043. So the outer planets, Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus, are going to do the same thing in 2025. They're going to test out their new sign, then retrograde, until they take up long-term residence in those signs in 2026 and 2027, and some of them even much longer than that. So I'll give you some idea of what that means and which one of your houses this happens in, so you get an idea of what 2025 has in store. So starting with the personal planets, Mercury, the communication planet, that retrogrades 3 times in 2025, which is better than usual. Sometimes it can retrograde 4 times. And when Mercury is retrograde, it causes issues with communication and transportation. The plus side is that you're able to see things differently. So the first time it retrogrades in 2025 is on the 14th of March. And it retrogrades in Aries. And it retrogrades until the 7th of April, where it's now gone back into Pisces. And that happens in your 4th house of family and roots and what makes you feel like you belong. And it hops over your IC into your 3rd house of communication. So that's really interesting because you're going to see your relationships with your family, with what you call home. You're going to see that differently. And I think you're going to become more focused on getting your way or making changes that you feel need to be made. So that first retrograde doesn't make you particularly considerate, but what I really mean is it doesn't make you much of a pushover. So during that first retrograde, if you have family relationships or a relationship with a particular location you've always lived in or a house or something, and it's been problematic or it's been something that's weighed heavily on your mind, this first retrograde isn't the time to address that or to have it out, because you're not going to be very willing to extend yourself. I think you're more focused on, this is how I feel, and that's it. When it goes into Pisces during that retrograde, you may get a little bit of whiplash because it does the opposite, and then you become incredibly forgiving and compromising and accommodating. So that first retrograde for you is kind of complicated because first you may show up as really intolerant, and then afterwards you may have to eat humble pie and say, I'm sorry I was so strident in my opinion. The second retrograde is on the 17th of July until the 11th of August. And that is Mercury in Leo in your 8th house of institutions and the authorities, corporations, big groups of people, right? And again, it's similar in the sense that Mercury in Leo isn't subtle. It likes being in a leadership position. It likes to be in the spotlight, and it likes to get its way. So if you're having problems with your employer or any legal issues or with the tax people, there may be a tendency to show up in a way that is very certain of itself. This is, I'm right, this is the way it's supposed to be, and an unwillingness to consider the other person's point of view or the organization's point of view. So again, if you want to avoid conflict there, deliberately try and see those circumstances objectively and say, do you know what? Like everyone else, I may not be right all the time. And if I show up here just kind of spouting off, it may make the situation worse because it may make the other person or the group of people retaliate rather than just deal with the issue at hand. And then the third retrograde, it starts on the 9th of November and it lasts until the 29th of November. And that retrograde starts Mercury in Sagittarius in your 12th house, and then it retrogrades back into Scorpio in your 11th. And that's a good one because that will allow you to see things differently because you have a stronger connection to the higher realms and you're willing to listen to that guidance and implement it. And then with Mercury in retrograde in Scorpio, it allows you to see your hopes and dreams and plans for the future very differently. So if you've been on a particular course, as in this is what I want to accomplish, this is what I want to do, and there's no deviating from that, you soften around that a little bit and you're able to look at other options or opportunities that have come in since you made those original plans. And you can really tweak things so that they're more appropriate to where you are in your life at that time. Venus retrogrades only once in 2025, which is good. Whenever Venus retrogrades, the planet of love, beauty, creativity, I mentioned that it's not the best time to start a new relationship or to start a new business because your perception on it can really change or be altered during the retrograde. And it happens on the 1st of March until the 12th of April. So if you can avoid, registering a company house, for instance, during the time, then I think that would be a good idea. And Venus is at the very bottom of your chart on the IC, which again is your roots. So the thing I think that highlights is you, Capricorn, if you find that you're single and you're dating, the 1st of March to the 12th of April, really exercise some caution there and evaluate the new connection on its merits or objectively try and look at it. And if you found yourself, by day 3 already having fallen madly in love, it could be a situation where it's too much of a good thing or that you're losing a genuine perspective on that connection and instead you go into wishful thinking. Also, with it being on your roots and you're transiting midheaven being nearby, I would hold off on starting a business between the 1st of March till the 12th of April. Then we've got Mars retrograding. Mars is the planet of masculinity and drive, what you're not going to compromise on, and that is already retrograde from the 6th of December 2024, and it stays in retrograde until the 23rd of February 2025. And in your case, that is in your 7th house of relationships. And again, that's not ideal because it's in Cancer in retrograde. So usually when this planet goes retrograde, it's responsible for energy and drive and focus. Usually you have less energy. But in Cancer in your 7th, it may mean again that you're willing to dismiss your own, I was going to say reason, but I'm not saying that you lose your mind. But I think you lose your reason when it comes to interpersonal relationships and connections, particularly romantic relationships. So, all of us have certain vulnerabilities and flaws, right? And some of us go on a couple of dates and are already madly in love and planning the marriage and what comes next. So if you're prone to that, even with this Mars retrograde, which usually doesn't have as much to do with romantic relationships, I would say really hold off on that and look at it in a practical sense in what is actually happening here. I planned the first date, we went bowling, he planned the second date, and we went to McDonald's. I planned the third date and I decided to whatever. And see, and I'm not saying relationships are all transactional, but see if there's a balance between how much you're putting into it and how much the other person is putting into it. And really believe those evaluations so that you can avoid getting yourself in a situation where you get your heart broken. Let's look at the eclipses then on the 13th or 14th of March, depending on your location, we've got a full moon in Virgo, and that's a lunar eclipse, and they always come in twos, lunar and solar eclipse. So this one is a lunar eclipse in Virgo. And for you, Capricorn, it happens in your 9th house of education, travel, and the higher realms. So with eclipses, they're always new moons or full moons, and because they're interrupted, the energy lingers for 6 months. So this will be available to you from March to about August, September. And that is a great opportunity for you to travel and to explore new locations and to learn a great deal from that. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, the communication planet. It's a very good student. So also it's a great time to sign up for new courses if you aren't able to travel. But it's also a good opportunity to connect with the higher realms and to receive messages from the Akashic records, which will allow you to heal your physical body. The next eclipse is on the 29th, and that's a new moon in Aries, and it's a solar eclipse. So lunar eclipse is the moon, your heart. Solar eclipse is the sun, your head. This one is in Aries, in your 4th house, again, of family, your roots, what makes you feel safe and at home. Next to it, we have Mercury, the communication planet, which is retrograde at that point, the transiting midheaven, and also Chiron, the wounded healer. So this is pulling a ton of energy in, and for the next 6 months, you'll be able to take the initiative to heal a lot of your relationships, but only from a place of strength. And from this point onwards, now that the Mars retrograde is over, you're able to start new relationships which are good in earnest and really don't put you in a position where you're the one doing all the work or you're giving all the love and you're getting very little in return. If there are family relationships which are challenging or there's an estrangement, the 29th of March until August, September is a really good time to put that on your to-do list and to try and rebuild those bridges if it's something you're interested in doing. So let's go to the next pair then. In September, we've got the first eclipse, and that is a full moon in Pisces, and it's a lunar eclipse on the 7th of September. And Capricorn, this happens in your 3rd house of communication. And the North Node in Pisces is next to it, and Saturn in Pisces is next to it. So this is a really good time. And again, eclipse, the energy is accessible till March, April 2026. This is a time to really get clear on what you want to do with your living situation or with your education. So I want to study veterinary science, or I want to go live in China, or I want to change my job. Therefore, these are the things that I'm going to have to learn. It's a great time to identify what you're really passionate about, what's aligned with your true, authentic spiritual purpose, and what information is missing, and how you can acquire it in order to realize that dream. So if you want to go back into studies, or if you're looking for what your life purpose is and you haven't quite figured it out, that eclipse is a time to meditate and contemplate that. You'll get a lot of fab answers. And then the next 6 months, you can put that into action and get somewhere with it. The 21st of September, we've got the next eclipse. This is a new moon in Virgo, and it's a solar eclipse. And again, that lands in your 9th house. So for you, Capricorn, this is the year to decide or to move if you want to, and to decide where you want to move to, and also to make up for any lack in education that prevents you from doing what it is you want to do. So this is Capricorn acquiring the missing puzzle pieces so that you can get the whole thing complete and that you can actually get on with what your true interests are. Let's look at the outer planets then. On the 30th of March till the 22nd of September, we have got Neptune in Aries. So before that, Neptune was in Pisces, and that allowed you to consider what you'd like to learn or where you'd like to live. With it going into Aries, it moves into your 4th house of family and roots. And I think that's the time to, again, get your most important relationships to where you want them to be, but also to heal the relationship that you have with your own work or the relationship you have with your roots, as in, I can either fix the way I feel about where I live by doing up the house or moving within the area, or I can decide that this place no longer is suitable for me and I really do want to move. So it gives you much greater clarity of focus. Now, Neptune exiting Pisces and going into Aries is really meaningful, right? Because it takes Neptune 165 years to go through the entire zodiac. So that it's starting a new 165-year cycle is going to feel like a birth of something new, a future that has never been possible. And because it moves so slowly, it stays in each sign for about 13 to 14 years. And with it being in Aries, down there in your 4th house, you're now really able to pinpoint what genuinely makes you feel rooted in life. Some people are rooted because they have family. Some people feel rooted because they're always learning something and that's what gives them a sense of security. Some people, it's their job. For some people, it's just a house, a home. So whatever it is that makes you genuinely feel safe in life, you'll be able to identify that. And the implication then is that you can pursue it in earnest to make that real and to manifest it. Because the outer planets represent us as a society, right, we'll notice with this shift that there's going to be a lot more innovation in the arts and healing and psychic ability and people being able to connect on a spiritual level that weren't possible before. So we'll see a lot of progress in that area. Then on the 24th of May until the 1st of September, Saturn is in Aries. And Saturn has also been in Pisces in your 3rd house of communication, where it allowed you to say, okay, this is the dream, this is what makes me feel safe, so that's what I'm going to pursue, right? With it being in Aries now, the security isn't so much in that I can dream and identify things, it's that I can take action and I can build whatever I like. Aries is the ram, it's fire, and if I have a desire, as far as Aries is concerned, then that's more than enough for me to do it. It's next to Neptune in your 4th. So for you, Capricorn, this is really the emergence out of the sea. What comes up is, these are the plans I have for my future. I want to, for instance, build a house and have a relationship and belong to a certain community and learn things. And this is where I feel like I can settle. So if you're a Capricorn who's felt a little bit unfocused, or you felt that I don't know what makes me happy, or I don't know what the next goal is going to be, this is the year where everything comes into focus like a kaleidoscope. Suddenly it all makes sense. And the fire of Aries gives you the energy to actually then work towards making those things a reality. Saturn takes 28 to 29 and a half years to go through each sign of the zodiac. It's called a Saturn return in your natal chart. It's the most important thing in astrology as far as I'm concerned, because Saturn is the head teacher that says, hey, this is what you're supposed to do with your life. Let's have a look at what you're doing now. And if that's off, it really, not so gently, prompts you to get back on the right track. And because it moves at that pace, it stays in each sign for 2.5 to 3 years. So you really have this confidence and self-belief now of Saturn in Aries for the next 3 years. And if you want to put down roots, and even if it seems unlikely, you know, if you're a German citizen and you want to have a ranch in Montana, with that, you'll find a way of making that happen if you pay enough attention to it. In society, or because the outer planets have to do with society, Saturn was in Aries in 1967 to 1969, and that was a period of great social liberation, right? People didn't follow the old rules so much anymore, and it was a cultural revolution, I would say. But there was also major conflict. And I know there are conflicts at a lot of times, but Saturn in Aries isn't just the individual saying, this is what I want and I'm going to pursue it no matter what. It's also then groups and countries saying, this is who we are and this is where we want and we're not going to relent. So on a more global level, it is an indicator that there could be more conflict in the world. 9th of June to 29th of June, we've got Jupiter, the lucky planet. That goes into Cancer. It's been in Gemini, in your 6th house of daily routine and structure, where it would have helped you to organize your life and to make little changes. But with it going into Cancer in your 7th, the good luck and the good fortune and the charm of Jupiter now really supports you in all of your relationships, romantic, with colleagues, family members, friends. And at the same time, you've got Uranus hovering around your fifth. And that is really good for any Capricorns who are single and who are looking for romantic relationships. From June 2025 until June 2026, you'll find that you'll have a lot more support via the Great Benefic, and that if you put yourself in situations that allow for chance meetings, that good things will happen. So if you're looking and you've been looking for a while, Jupiter now really supports you over that year period in finding the one you love. Finally, the 7th of July until the 7th of November, Uranus goes out of Taurus in your fifth, where you see that would have been counterproductive when it comes to love and romantic relationships. It would have been more conducive to having short-term relationships. With it going into Gemini, it allows you to really change your everyday routine and to find solutions to problems much more easily, but also to enjoy that process and to become much more willing to embrace change and to alter your everyday circumstances, and to no longer feel this anxiety or fear that I have to hang on to everything the way it is. Uncertainty and things not being guaranteed is going to feel a lot easier for you when Uranus goes into Gemini on the 7th of July. And on a societal level, Uranus is electricity and lightning and chaos and the miraculous, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the communication planet. So things like technological innovation and invention and AI and social media, we're going to see a lot of progress in that area. But for you specifically, personally, it means that you find it much easier to manage your everyday routine and you're not frightened or overwhelmed by change. In fact, I think you would welcome it. Uranus is also very slow, right? It takes 84 years to go around the zodiac. So it's in each sign for 7 years. So now you've got Uranus in Gemini, creating all this wonderful new innovation for 7 years. And in your 6th house, you can really redesign your life and live in a completely different way than you could have imagined, or anyone in your family or in your society could imagine. So if you want to live in a, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of unusual things, but they already exist. If you want to live in a, I don't know. The thing in the last year I heard about is that people start living in those containers, you know, the shipping containers, which they didn't do 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But what's your version of the new way of living and living your daily routine? And come up with that and do it, and other people will then follow suit if it's a great idea. So I hope that gives you an idea of what's coming up, Capricorn. I hope you have a wonderful time. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via the website, gregoryscott.com. I use astrology, the tarot, numerology, and my intuition in my personal readings. So to draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, order a chart rectification with me. That's a process where I manually work out your time of birth by you sending me 10 significant life events. Once I have that, then I've got your chart in front of me. It's like a blueprint of who you are. So if you have any questions around your career, your vocational aptitudes, love, spiritual development, or what's coming up in future, or what location would be best for you to live, you can look at the transits, the astrocartography. Any questions at all, please do get in touch. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. Hit subscribe for more videos and share the video online if you think anyone might enjoy this. That helps the channel grow. And I also do a daily tarot reading on the channel. If you'd like to watch that, then please become a member of the channel and you can see those every day. Have a wonderful time and I'll speak to you soon.